With 33 million players of online games across mobiles, consoles and PCs, gaming is one of the largest and fastest growing forms of media in the UK, with a wide variety of video games from first-person shooters, fantasy to sporting games. All of these genres of video game are equally successful and allows the industry to appeal to a very wide audience. In 2013, the sale of video game consoles alone made a massive £625 million in revenue, and as such, there are important questions to be asked. Mason Spiller is a competitive gamer and self-confessed enthusiast who has immersed himself in the world of online gaming since age 7.
Usually it can vary, because obviously you do have the people who do try and take what they see in the games into their own hands. So, like the common theme of Grand Theft Auto, people going on the streets and start stealing stuff. Obviously that's occasionally happen, but it is excessively rare. Obviously you don't want like young kids, like 10-year-olds or 11-year-olds, that kind of thing, playing the older age-rated games. Obviously because there is the amount of gore and unsavoury aspects of it. Not at all really. Obviously you do see on the news there are some rare cases where it does happen, but far and wide the huge amount of people that do play video games like Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, you don't get the same amount of people going to join the army or starting their own crime gang or whatever. You don't see many people out on the street, but the point is that it's the amount of media attention going after the negative side of it. So like, this dude said he's robbed this car because he's so hard to do it on Grand Theft Auto.
Ben Trella of Opposable Games, a Bristol-based indie game developer, advocates the educational, interactive and social value of gaming.
Yeah, I feel games got a lot of positive effects. Can be highly educational, in the same way that a film can show more than a book, although there are drawbacks. An interactive experience can be more illustrative than a film or a book. And in addition, games are a simulation that can be failed multiple times while learning, which is difficult in the real world. I think game design can, in many ways, achieve a more positive purpose, which happens as the number of people getting involved with games increases, the types of games increases, more people playing casual games, which are not to do with shooting. There are indie games that are exploring emotions and storylines, for example.
Psychology lecturer Kate Barry explains the psychological imperative and societal impact of gaming.
I think it definitely depends on the person. So I think from a psychology point of view, a lot of people tend to have something underlying, maybe high levels of testosterone, maybe other factors in their lives that lead them to be aggressive, maybe it's social learning as well. So I think it can, but it tends to be a trigger. What it can tend to normalise, with like looking at social learning theory you pick up from your environment, so it can normalise people to think that that is okay, like it's justified in society and it's a norm and it's a standard. Quite a lot of young people and older people do obviously realise that that's okay just in the game, but then sometimes that's hard for younger people to understand.
I love playing games in my spare time, especially first-person shooters like Battlefield. I find it a fun and challenging way to pit yourself against like other people worldwide, test your reactions, your skill on the game, and just try and have a bit of fun.
I've been playing video games since I can remember, about the age of 4, and my first video game was in fact a fighting game, so that's always been my favourite. Although in real life I like to play football, so I like a lot of sports game, basketball game, NBA. So yeah, I'd have to say sports and fighting.
No, I don't think gaming is dangerous at all. I think it's just like any other kind of hobby. Like, no one says football's dangerous, but it's because of the content in some games, people assume automatically that it does lead to violence, instead of seeing it as more of a hobby and it's the people behind the game that are the cause of the violence.
In your eyes, do you feel that some of the school shootings you hear about could have been caused by video games?
Partly, but only very small, because I mean, you could say the same thing about movies, because in movies you see that sort of explicit stuff you do in games. However, you know, people don't ever blame it on the movie, so I think people just use it as a scapegoat.